for the month of July 2024. My name is Vincent Jones. I'm your moderator for this evening, and I also sit as the first vice president of the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers. This is a CPD event. That is, this is a continuous professional development event, and it carries a value of 2 CPD points. So I invite you professionals in the group who require CPD points for your various professional designations to please reach out to our secretariat and speak to Stacey Burgess, and she'll be able to forward those CPD points to you that you can use for your various professional recognitions. Some housekeeping. Please note that these sessions are run as follows. We will introduce our presenters this evening, who will present to us between 30 and 40 minutes. And then we're going to have an open session to our general audience to ask questions and interact with our guests. This is done either by raising your hand, at which time myself will acknowledge you and invite you to ask your question. Alternatively, you can post your question in the chat, and I will ask that question on your behalf. And we ask that you please mute your electronic device unless you are asking questions. So we have a very interesting topic tonight, and it's interesting from my standpoint, certainly as a professional within the construction industry. And it should be interesting for persons in general as we look at retrenchment and retraining and training of workers. This evening, we are going to be discussing the Barbados Construction Gateway Training Initiative. Some of you might have heard various ministers on the television or might have seen something in the newspaper and maybe scratching your head to say, well, what is this initiative? What is it really about? What does it do? How does it benefit Barbados? And this evening, we have what I would call a heavyweight panel. Not heavyweight because some of us may be carrying size, but heavyweight in that these are the top of their game, as it were. So we have, first and foremost, I want to thank Mr. Ian Drakes, who has graciously put this panel together for us and has agreed to come and do a presentation on this most interesting topic. So we have Mr. Ian Drakes, who is the principal of the Samuel Jackman Prescod Institute of Technology. We have Mr. Henderson Eastmond, the executive director of the Technical and Vocational Training Council, TVET. We have Miss Annette Alleyne, who is the principal of the Barbados Community College. And we have, we initially would have invited Miss Valerie Quinton from the Barbados Vocational Training Board. Unfortunately, she's not well. So we have, instead, we have Mr. Gerard Prescod, who will be sitting in representing the Barbados Vocational Training Board in this evening's session. So that is our topic. Those are our speakers. I'll just give you a quick idea of who persons are, because I am aware that we are starting a little late and I don't want to prolong our getting going. So just give me a quick second, please. Actually, we'll just do it a little differently. I'm going to ask each presenter just to briefly introduce themselves so we can move things along. And then we are going to jump into the topic, and Mr. Drakes will indicate who's going to be doing what, since we have, as you can see, 4 persons involved. So Mr. Drakes, very quickly, if you could tell us about yourself. Who is Ian Drakes? To the public that doesn't know Mr. Ian Drakes, this gentleman who came in here looking like he put Miami Vice this evening with a t-shirt and a jacket on. So Mr. Drakes, tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Mr. Jones, and warm welcome to all. I am the principal, as you said, of the SJPI. And at the SJPI, we have a lot of exciting things going on. I come from a background of technical vocational education in terms of training persons from special ed, moving on to administration at the SJPI, curriculum development officer, then to deputy principal, now to principal, leading this pristine institution in reasons of trying to train the young persons for the emerging technologies, the traditional technologies, and giving persons the opportunity to become entrepreneurs or to work for someone in the sector. And that is a little nutshell of who Ian Drakes is. I have 3 children and I'm on vacation. So that's why I'm dressed like this.
Mr. Dress, you don't have to give the apology for your address. I'm quite happy to see your address quite comfortably. And you're looking snazzy like a young boy. I'm just pulling your leg, sir. Miss Annette, Alleyne, who is also on vacation, ma'am, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. I have been the principal at the Barbados Community College since 2019. Prior to that, well, I'm a lifelong educator. That's how I see myself. Prior to that, I was the head of the science division, and I also taught chemistry in the science division at BCC. I previously taught at Queen's College in the late 80s, early 90s, and I taught in Bermuda as well, all in the science field. So I've written textbooks for chemistry. I am also interested in the arts, the performing arts, writing as well. And I've done some plays, screenplays. One of my films actually won a gold award for NIFCA. And I've written children's books and so on. But I enjoy what I do as an educator. And I like the blend of the science and the arts.
Thank you so much, Miss Alleyne. I mean, if this was a batting lineup for the West Indies, I would have felt a lot better the other day at Lords, right? Because we got a good middle order here. All right, Mr. Eastman, you're up next, sir.
Yes, good evening. Like Miss Alleyne, I'm a lifelong educator. I cut my teeth at Grantley Adams, which used to be West St. Joseph, Duggan Griffith, Queen's College. I had a year at Henderson Teachers Training College after doing my master's in educational assessment and evaluation. I spent 13 years at CHC in the test development and test appraisal system. There I cut my teeth in technical and vocational education because I was given for 7 of those years the TVET subjects to deal with. And I'm here at the TVET Council for the past 13 years, heading up the TVET Council. I have a passion for construction. I do construction on the side. and we are coordinating the Construction Gateway program in a
Thank you
nutshell.
so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Eastman, for that. And Jared, no least, but last, please introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, good evening all. Gerard, Prescod. I'm not as fortunate as my other colleagues. I was never a teacher. I was a military man, but before being a military man, I was a tradesman. So I would have spent about 12 years working in a furniture workshop, building furniture, learning to read designs and that sort of stuff. And then I would have gone to what was then the Polytechnic to get my certificate in carpentry and joinery. And then I went into academics, political science, and then labor and employment relations. And I'm now into the field of HR. So that is a little about me. Married, probably for too long. You're laughing. I love horse racing and Vincent, you know me from other fields, love cricket and a member of the credit union board.
Thank you, Jared. And what's interesting is that both myself and Jared are graduates of the institutions here. I would have attended both the BCC and the SJPI as it was then. And Jared had just indicated he would have come through the former Polytechnic as we knew it then, now the Institute of Technology. So we have some skin in the game. We're not just here looking pretty. So Mr. Drakes, you know how passionate I am about technical education, and wherever I can help, I do try to do that, given the office that I occupy in the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers. So we would at this point like to give way to you and your panelists to introduce this exciting program to us. And thereafter, we will engage you in some questions. So over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. And we too thank you for giving us this opportunity. And this afternoon, as Mr. Eastman said, he looks after the coordination and the putting together of all the statistics and so on, and having oversight for the entire project. And it's exciting because we were given a mandate as technical training institutions. And that's where SJPI, the Barbados Community College and the Barbados Vocational Training Board came together and got a mandate that we need to ramp up training because there was, and I would use the word was, an anticipated building boom. I would say now, sir, we're going to tell you about the success of the initial aspect because the building boom is here. And we're going to also be speaking about from our different institutions where we're going with the cycle 2 of this aspect. And we will get Mr. Eastmond to give us some coordinations of how things have been going from the past into the present as it relates to the Barbados Construction Gateway Training Initiative. And we have learned some valuable lessons, and we are happy now to have this conversation with the professional engineers to give you all some insight into where we have started and what we have done as it relates to getting the construction boom, getting that awareness out there, getting young persons involved, because we are seeing that there's a need for our people. And we have heard the Prime Minister said, if we don't train out our people, she will be forced to import labor. And so we know that we have some young cohorts that have the potential. We have to get them now before the wrong source of persons get into them. And so that's really what our conversation is going to be about this afternoon as it relates to the construction gateway. And really, as you said earlier, sir, what is construction gateway? And we will tell you about the series of courses that we have been doing and where we have taken cycle 1 and improved on that for cycle 2. And our team will be able to tell you from our different sections what some of our big success has been. I will start by leading off and saying that in cycle 1, our biggest success was photovoltaic electrical installation. And we were able to meet the demand, and it was a great demand in terms of persons even coming on Sundays to get training in photovoltaic PV installation. And so we now have a cadre of persons from that cycle 1, which run for an entire year of about 4 cohorts respectively. And we will also be telling you some of the pointers that can help young people why you should join Construction Gateway. But I would want to lead off by having Mr. Eastmond give us a little synopsis on where we started to take us then through the different department divisions and the institutions where we are now. Mr. Eastmond?
Yes, we were given that mandate. I think it was in 2022, isn't it? Where we were approached by none other than the Prime Minister herself. And it was for 3 months training, quick training. And so we started off by we first drafted, based on the areas, we drafted a curriculum made up of units from the CVQ or NVQ standards in the area. Then we convene a meeting with the technical experts, the people who actually teach the program. And we finalize the syllabus. So what we wanted to get somebody who output graduates that who can hit the ground running, minimum running entry point, and can function in the workplace in the various areas of all the areas of construction. That too was after we did that, then we had to cater for the Ministry of Housing. We then had to cater for the ASH workers. Then their term of employment was finished, they came over for training. And so I think over the 4 cohorts we trained about, I say about 2,000, roughly 2,000 people in the various areas. And then we had some successes. We had other areas like tree trimming, backhoe operations, construction management. We had all the trades involved. And so we move on now to cycle 2. Some of the feedback was that some of the people, some of the students need a little longer time at the practice, because in each program, we try to get a job attachment where possible. And so we have extended some of the programs where we got that feedback from 3 months to 4 months. And so we have started cycle 2 now with about 400 to 500 persons. We have another 400 or 500 people registered to be put into the program. So we're off to sort of a flying start again. And we are going to be marketing this program vigorously over the next year. And we expect things to pick up as we go along. I said that we have 400 people who have started training, another 400 people who have registered since then, and we have to put them into the training. Whether we put them into cycle, whether we put them into cohort 1 or cohort 2, I don't know, but we're going to be discussing that this week, because a week and a half has passed since the training has started. So in a nutshell, that is where we're at with the Construction Gateway program.
Thank you for that, Mr. Eastmond. I would ask Ms. Alleyne to tell us some of the successes at the Barbados Community College and some of the initiatives that you got into as it relates to the Construction Gateway, and then where you are at this time.
At the BCC, I think there were 21 programs that are offered altogether among the training institutions. And there's some programs that only some specific institutions could offer. And at the BCC, for instance, we're the only institution that offered construction supervision.
Mhm.
And that was one of the most in-demand programs at the BCC. And outside of that, all of the other programs offered, there were 8 other programs that were offered at BCC, 9 altogether. And there were I could give a list of them, a list of the programs that we offered at the BCC. We had I think Mr. Drake, you spoke about the PV.
Yes.
The electrical installation, we offer that, foundation laying, joinery and cupboard construction, tiling, boxing and formwork, bricklaying and plastering, basic carpentry. And a lot of those were new programs for the BCC. We hadn't done them before, but we worked together, and this was one of the strengths of the Barbados Construction Gateway Training Initiative, is that the 3 institutions could collaborate and work on curriculum together, identifying instructors, the right instructors for the various programs and so on. So of all of those, the one we had done before was photovoltaic, the electrical installation, and we had the program for the construction supervision, but we hadn't delivered that. But all the other programs were new to the BCC. Now from the cycle 1, we had the 4 cohorts as well, and 273 people successfully completed the program at the BCC. So 273 altogether among that were distributed among those various programs that I identified. I think the most popular one at the BCC, well, there were 2 that were highly in demand: the photovoltaic electrical installation, the construction supervision, and tiling. That was another in-demand program at the BCC. Mr. Eastman already mentioned some of the lessons that we learned, which was that the program needed to be longer. And part of how the program is delivered as well is that there is the National Transformation Initiative offers a citizenship course, and the persons who are enrolled in the Construction Gateway Initiative are supposed to take this course, which emphasizes what it means to be Barbadian. So it's not just about training and the skills, the technical skills and competencies that you get at the end of the program, but part of it is reinforcing who we are, having people buy into our heritage, which I think is really important. That's where a lot of the nations of the world are going, understanding what it is that is unique about their culture and learning how to celebrate that. So the participants in the program enroll in that course, that citizenship course that is delivered online through the Barbados Construction Gateway Initiative. So the BCC, Barbados Community College, we're happy to have been part of this initiative. One of the main strengths of the program is the partnership, collaboration, where we share resources, and the role of the TVET Council has been critical in ensuring that the program is monitored, that there are timely reports delivered, that we understand how the students are thinking, because we get feedback from the participants in the program. So we know the areas where we may be falling short and where we may need to improve as well. So yes, 273 people successfully completed the training at the BCC, and we're just happy to have been part of the process.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Alleyne. And I want to add to what Ms. Alleyne said before I introduce Mr. Gerard Prescod to chime in. And I want to emphasize the aspect of teamwork. And when she said teamwork, I want persons to understand that you just simply apply to the Barbados Construction Gateway. We have a team of registrars that then assign you to the respective training institutions. We have a team of industrial liaison officers, placement officers. We have a team of leaders, as in the heads are here now. We have a communication team. So when Ms. Alleyne speak about collaboration and team and the excitement, it is everything, one stop, one application, and then you are distributed to the respective training institutions. So you don't have to go to BCC to apply to get into SJPI. You just, wherever we have teams that will be looking after in terms of personnel division as well to get feedback and as was stated. And that's what we have been able to put together as a set of leaders for the construction gateway as we continue into this. Gerard, can you tell us some of the success at the Barbados Vocational Training Board?
Yes, good evening. What our successes would be more saying that we are unique in the sense that we offer a number of courses that the others don't because we have heavy equipment. Our successes would be in the line of the operations of heavy equipment, the backhoe, the skid steer, tractor. And what we've found, what has been reported to us by the demonstrators, is that some of the trainees who were successful have been able to apply for jobs in Canada, because Canada is looking for a lot of drivers, people with heavy duty equipment. So we've been pushing that. Unfortunately, at this time it is on pause because our equipment is down, but we've been pushing that over the first 4 cohorts, along with the other things like tiling and landscaping, plumbing, electrical assistant, all that the other institutions are doing. But BVTB specifically offers the driving courses. And it works out fine for us because we have that like I said, that equipment. And therefore we are able to try to push the young people in the other areas outside of the basic plumbing, masonry, tiling, that sort of stuff. So yes, we see that as a success because, like I said, we've had reports from the demonstrators that there have been a lot of requests from some of the trainees so far for jobs in Canada, where the market seems to be open and requesting a lot of people in the driving industry.
So that's excellent news. That's really good news. And I want to add for the SJPI, some of our big success came from doing things for the first time, similar to the other 2 institutions. We have never done tree trimming before. We have never done steel bending before. But again, we as leaders realized when the Prime Minister said construction, it meant all encompass. And so we had some exciting, I saw some young ladies climbing trees and I mean like fearless in terms of this construction gateway and going on to we trying to encourage them to form their own businesses because there's a need in Barbados. We just had the threat of barrel business, but we understand the importance of that. And that was one of the exciting points for us, the steel bending as well. And we're seeing that there's a need possibly to make that a full-time program going forward because we realize in construction, you need the steel benders to come in long before you start to cast anything. And these persons need to know the specifics. And talking to our technical persons, we realize, you know, that that's value added to the construction gateway. I want to add as well to persons to understand that in this whole aspect. The administration determine if you're unemployed, you're going to be struggling to come to SJPI, BCC, or the training board with the price of bus fare and lunch money. And so in this construction gateway, I want it to be known that if you're unemployed and you join the construction gateway, you are given a stipend, a daily stipend to help you with getting lunch and bus fare to come to classes. That's you can travel the world and find out who does that. And I am certain that you will not get such benefits. And as my colleague said as well, Ms. Alleyne, the aspect of the citizenship and the NTI, helping you to understand what it is to be a Barbadian. We just came out of an interesting culture where, recently. And so we understand when it comes to our culture, what we had to do for the construction gateway. So that's some of the big takeaway points for SJPI. We have in excess of 400 persons, 500 persons being trained in the first cohort. And so what we were able to do is to even reach out to our extended colleagues at some technical schools. So instead of we saying that we ran out of space, we moved Mohammed to the mountain. Training board as well. We have been able to co-opt the secondary schools to use their workshops on evenings to help deliver construction gateway where the demand is. And the demand is high in electrical assistance. And so again, going forward, we are going to be using that model as some of the lessons that we have learned in terms of the construction gateway moving forward.
Well,
I just want to add to Mr. Drake the involvement and the partnership that we had with the private sector. Now, within the first cycle, each student was given a toolkit, a basic toolkit. And we provided them with toolkit, and we're going to be doing that again. And we had a partnership with the private sector where the private sector donated it was a partnership with the private sector, and that's where the private sector donated some of the toolkits, and we would be appreciative of this involvement again with the private sector, right? So that is another aspect of it. And in cycle 2 now, we're going to have the toolkit again, but we are also introducing a literacy program where we realize that some of the students were weak in their literacy and numeracy, so we have a program for that, for those persons who are weak. Not everybody will have to go through it. We will do a diagnostic test, and those who are weak, we will put them through that literacy program, which will be delivered by professional persons who are trained and qualified to do so. Thank you.
I think Gerard wanted to add something as well.
Yeah, I was touching on something that you said before, and at training board in the first cycle, we took on some new courses, new to us in the sense that we never used to teach them before, but we're able to successfully teach them metal stud framing, the well digging and well cleaning, Gabian building. And it was interesting, me and the director one afternoon decided that we were going to go and visit the guys who were doing the well cleaning. And we went to the control area and to see young people eager to be in wells, cleaning out wells. And I mean, at first, I know that when she first got the smell, she was a bit taken back. But when we saw that those people were there, they were enjoying what they were doing, and the demonstrator was telling us, this job is not cut out for everybody. There are a couple of people who came and after the first day, they couldn't take the smell. But once you get accustomed, and I mean, they were doing it and enjoying what they were doing. And the same thing for the metal stud framing. We saw the steel frame houses come in from China. We saw them set up. And now, as you look around, all of them are, or most of them are completed. People have taken to living in them, some fire victims and that sort of stuff. So we've had trainees who worked on some of those projects, and we are happy and proud that we were able to see them to completion.
And if I could add as well,
yes,
like so far we identified that some of the courses were specific to various institutions, but there were some courses that we all delivered that were in demand. I think all three institutions did basic carpentry, possibly. That was one course that was common to
correct.
all three institutions. And what is important when the institutions are all doing the same course is that there's consistency. So you have one curriculum and we deliver in similar manner in terms of the practical exposure and so on. The hours that are assigned for in class are compared to the practical work. And then the certification. The certification for the program is standard. So the certification for the construction gateway bears the logos of all the institutions so that a student doesn't feel that because they went to SJPA that this is just unique to SJPA, but it is delivered across all the institutions. So one, there is the emphasis on consistency as well. So there's some programs that we all did, but despite that, the curriculum was the same curriculum. We try to ensure that we have an orientation process that is similar across the institutions, and then the certification is standard certification for the program as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Ms. Alleyne. I think that we also have to commend the participants, and we look forward to the new participants. And we also want to, for the future, reach out to new participants. And our reaching out, we had an excellent launch a few weeks ago, I believe on the 21st of June. And one of the high points is we were able to bring on board some persons who were able to articulate the success stories of doing construction gateway. So this is not just we, the leaders, being hidden up on our chests. We have had persons who've been through the system, who have experienced construction gateway, who have spoken highly about what they have learned and what they have acquired. And so we are encouraging you. And I want to say to parents especially, you have some 16-year-olds who have just finished school just a week ago. And you may be wondering, you know, they're not sure what they want to do. And I'm saying to you, don't think of a camp. The camp is called Construction Gateway. Get them into BCGTI, Barbados Construction Training Initiative. Even if they're going on to university in September, we, with what Mr. Eastmond presented, as you heard, we can do in 4 months' time, 3 to 4 months' time, we can give them a trade that can be a backup just in case. And I'm sure that we will get some entrepreneurs out of that as well. So I'm saying to the 16-year-olds out there, the parents especially, who not sure, something that they're interested in. As you heard Gerard say, if you love what you do it well. And so we want to always encourage our young persons that, and we tell them about the kind of money that you can make from tree trimming. And I want you to know that this is the first one of its type that was put on in the Caribbean region. And so we want to encourage them to expand because, as Mr. Eastmond said, these are Caribbean vocational qualification templates that we're using, which was signed by 21 of the CARICOM countries in this region. And therefore, we want to encourage you, this is not just what we say, a Mickey Mouse certificate. It has that kind of credential from the awarding body, the TVET Council, supporting it, and the administration. Mr. Jones, with that, we will ask if you want to join us now.
Before Mr. Jones come in, Ian,
Sure.
I just want to support you by saying that a trade is a very important thing. I remember when I was a young boy, the lady that raised me said, I don't care what education you get at the end, you have to learn a trade at first. And she was sending me to learn mechanics. I didn't like the grease, and I opted to go to the workshop. Sunday that just gone, I restored a mahogany headboard. Next weekend, I will restore a mahogany dressing table. These are things that people throw outside. And I pass and I see them and I pick them up. I go to the hardware store, I buy the glue and the screws, I buy the materials if needed to take out rotten, and I put them back up, all because I learned the trade of joinery when I was about 16 years old. And that is a hobby that I have up to this day.
It's interesting you say that because myself and Vincent recently we had a conversation about restoration, and we are seriously looking at that as being one of the ingrained traits in this country. Restoration, you know, we have Barbados, Bridgetown, and a historic garrison, and we
Right.
have. If we don't be careful, we're gonna lose it if we don't infuse in persons what you just said. And with that, Mr. Jones, I hand over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Drakes, as always, for a stimulating presentation. And I'm happy that you were able to bring along with you 3 other persons who are just as enthusiastic about what they are doing and the courses and so on that the different institutions they represent are engaged in. In 2018, Mr. Drakes invited myself to deliver the Samuel Jackman Prescod lecture for that year. It was coming down to the end of the year. It was the year before 2019, and we knew that coming out after 2019, COVID arrived. And I made some comments that apparently, as we would say today, went viral at the time. It took about 3 weeks before it filtered into the press because it wasn't a murder, it wasn't boy get chopped up, nothing so. But it was some comments that were made, and I just want to see some of those comments now, so we can start this discussion going and really let's quiz our colleagues here and get some information and share some information and make this a useful exercise. So at that time, I said that Barbados was said to have a good complement, and I'm referring here that the whole aspect that Barbados made up the largest contingent of foreign workers that went to the Panama Canal at the end of the 1800s coming into the 1900s. And I said that Barbados was said to have a good complement of skilled tradesmen, and so they found work on this mega project of the time. Before that period, Barbados joiners, carpenters, and stonemasons were renowned across the region for their skill. Not just Barbados, across the region. That means they could pick up their tools, hop on a boat at that time, or a schooner, and go to the south down to Guyana, as far up to Jamaica, and find credible, well-paying employment, all right? However, as that generation sought to ensure a better and brighter future for their lineage, aspiring them to be bank tellers, a government clerk, or clerk as we know it, or perhaps even a lawyer or a doctor for the favored few, we started to push our people, especially our young males, away from working with their hands and learning a trade. Now, as Gerard said when he was growing up, and probably persons of our age group, normally your grandparents or your parents didn't like to see around the house doing nothing. You had to find something to do, or they would find something for you to do. And that sometimes entail, as he said, going down by the body. I had a body workshop in the neighborhood and learning to do something with your hands, or to join a shop around the corner, or you might have had a relative who was into a trade and they would send you or with dispatch to learn something to do with your hands. And I think we have now come to that part of our development once again where we must relook what we have done. Yes, our forefathers wanted and aspired for the younger people to do better than them and to go into what they would have seen as the better paying jobs of the time, but not understanding that that would have had some consequences for us today. So we've basically invented or created an education system where we have, and I see my former technical teacher, former woodwork teachers in this chat this evening, so I'm very honored that he's here, Mr. Robin Downs. You know, when you were at secondary school, you went and do the technical subjects, people didn't really think much of it, right? They thought that, oh, the foolish people or the people that don't understand sciences and the arts, them is going to do them subjects or those subjects, right? They were looked down upon. But what is so funny is that I have worked over 20, 25 years as a contractor in the industry. And what is so funny is that when you get a good tiler who can earn up to $2,000 in a week, go to deposit his money with the same bank teller that earning probably $2,000 in a month, you really got to scratch your head and say, well, what have we done to our young people? We've pushed them in a direction where we are telling them, well, to work with your hands, to work out in the hot sun, there's something wrong with that you need to be inside. You need to be in a collar and tie job, and that's nothing to do with what I'm wearing this evening, just what we say. And for a whole cadre of our young men, because they are not attuned academically and prefer to work with their hands, they have felt that I have failed because I've not been able to meet that unrealistic standard and not be able to pursue or do something that I would prefer to do or be intentional about doing or enjoying what I'm doing. I heard Gerard said just now that when he took his colleague to the well digging class, that the youngsters involved were enthusiastic about what they were doing. And we really have to relook our education system and make sure that that cadre of young people that are not academically inclined are not left behind. And opportunities such as this that are being presented, I think, provides a vehicle to redress some of the wrongs of the past. Because as a construction professional, I can tell you, and I said then, and this was before, because we were on the cusp of a construction boom then, but then COVID came and everything stopped. Literally across the world, everything stopped. So 2018 going into 2019, we were on the cusp of a construction boom. And I purported at that point in time, and what was reported in press, is that Barbados would not have sufficient construction professionals to satisfy the need that would have been required in the coming year. We did not have enough skilled tradesmen. And I want to emphasize that term. Skilled tradesman is not a laborer. Skilled tradesman is where you go and obtain some sort of training, whether through apprenticeship or whether through actual training to be able to do a skilled labor task, right? And we have really I have seen the construction boom of 2007, 2006, 2004, where we had to import so many foreign labor into this country just to keep up with the demand of what the boom that was ongoing at that point in time. And we are now, as Mr. Drake saying, we are practically there again. Coming out of COVID, persons are now wanting to get those projects that they put on ice restarted. So there is now a rush to get things moving. And obviously the government is encouraging that because that uptake in economic activity argues well for everybody. Construction is one of those industries that when construction workers are making money, everybody gets a piece of the pie. Because when he gets paid on a Friday, he's going to, if he's a responsible man, he's going to put the money one side for the family. But then he's going to go into town and he's going to have a beverage with his friends and he's going to frequent some place to have something to eat. And he's going to spend his money at that level. The money circulates. It becomes currency. It moves. So when there's construction activity in a country, you'll find that a lot of these smaller persons do well. When I say smaller persons, I mean the food vendors, the people, the suppliers, the people that sell. Construction covers a vast array and touches a vast array of other industries. It's not only tourism. Construction is also very important. And when it is doing well, the country generally is an indicator that things are going well for the country. So I want to really say a big thank you, Mr. Drakes, Mr. Eastmond, Ms. Alleyne, Gerard, for the initiative that you guys have been tasked with delivering to the country. I really want to encourage you all to keep your shoulder to the wheel and keep pushing. This cannot be, for us in the construction industry, a one-off. This has to be sustained because even when construction goes in peaks and troughs, so we're not always going to have a construction boom, but then we will end up with a cadre of people who could fetch or seek work in other jurisdictions within the region, where we now have to teach our young people to think that Barbados is not the only place you can work. You have to now think externally. As Gerard said, we cannot supply enough drivers to places like Canada and the US right now, right? There's always a need, and Mr. Drakes can qualify this. There's always a need for trained welders overseas, always, right? There are certain professions that there is, nurses, these type of things, there are not enough of them worldwide. So we have to get our young people into thinking that yes, you may pick up this trade and this skill and the work may come to a halt here, but there are other opportunities outside of Barbados. And then those remittances also help to build our economy. So I've said enough. I want to open up the floor because I'm very passionate on this. So I want to open up the floor now to those who are here. Please do indulge and ask some questions. Mr. Robin Downs, I'm very curious yourself as a technical teacher in the system for so many years, what your thoughts are on this program. And given some of the students that come through your hands, have you directed any of them in this direction? So I open the floor now. Persons, please raise your hand and I will invite you to ask the question yourself, or just a reminder, you can put the question in the chat and I can answer it on your behalf. So let's make this afternoon interesting, guys. Ask some questions. Please just don't sit down and look like wallpaper. If you have any questions, please. Felicia, don't make me call you out. Come ask some questions. All right. Robin, if you're there, can you engage for a minute?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I am doing well.
And it's because of people
How are
like
you?
Mr. Robin Downs that even though I wear a collar and tie today, Jared, but like you on Sundays, I could stand off and put that together, some antique chairs, and I could hang a door and I could put in a window and I could sit down and draw a drawing because of professionals like this man who took the time to really give of himself to a whole generation of students. So Mr. Downs, what does this program mean for the secondary school system? For those students who may
Actually,
not,
sorry.
who may not be academically astute, but need a direction to go in.
Yeah. All right. Good evening to everyone. Interesting that you said students who are not academically inclined. But one of the issues that we face is that the public generally thinks of persons in the technical field as not being academic, but you would know that you can't pass a CXC unless you are a reader. You can't pass an A level unless you are willing to read. You can't get a degree unless you are willing to read. And just to start there, I remember sometimes you meet people and if they ask you, okay, where do you work? You say, okay, I'm a teacher. And I would say to them, okay, I teach at the law school. And their face may light up because you say you are a teacher, but then I ask, what do you teach? And you say, I am a technical teacher. And then it's like, oh, you are not really a teacher. You are a technical teacher. So you get that stigma. What I'm interested in though, I stepped away a little bit when we were talking about the certification. I'm interested, really keen on what the persons who are doing the gateway program, what certification they would receive at the end. Could I get a little more enlightenment on that?
Well, the students can opt for two types of certifications. You can get a certification from the institution, or they can opt to get a CVQ or NVQ certification, unit certification. It would not be a full unit, for which they can come back later and do the rest to get the full certification. Yeah?
Because I was keen on that. I mean, I've worked with the CVQ. In fact, I've been working with the CVQ program, and I know how intensive it is. So I was just wondering if how connected the gateway program was to the CVQ, because I'm thinking if a person leaves the gateway program and goes to an employer, how would that person be recognized? How do at what level would they be received into the workforce? That is would be a concern of mine. But it's a good, from what I've heard this evening, it is a worthwhile program. It gives yet another opportunity. Again, the public very often, when I hear people talk about technical education and what needs to happen, I often say, well, aren't they aware that these things are already happening? So there are so many opportunities being offered now that when I was at school some years ago, I mean, the opportunities were not there. I mean, you have the cosmetology into the school system, you have barbering in the school system, you have a variety of programs, and the public keeps saying, we need to do these things, but they're already being done. It seems as though they're not listening, they're not observing. You know what I mean?
As a matter of fact, the CVQ program in the schools has been expanding so rapidly every year that they're beginning to push SJPI, especially because when students come out with a CVQ, if they do a level 2 in the area, they are at the Polytechnic diploma.
Yes.
So what we're having now is we have to push the system higher. We have now the Polytechnic has to, not the Polytechnic, the Institute of Technology now has to invest in capacity building, both in equipment and in upgrading of the instructors to go to level 3 and level 4, to go higher. And that is what we are working on now.
The next question that I would want to ask, where is your market? Who are you targeting at this present moment with the Gateway program? Because I'm not too sure, for example, well, I will have to speak to my guidance counselor, but I'm not too sure if that push reached secondary schools. I'm not too sure.
Well, yeah, and to answer you, Mr. Downs, this, because of the cycle 2 where it lands now, is where we were targeting what we would call school leavers. But our original drive has been the unemployed, the underemployed, those who want to retrain and retool and repurpose their self in the society as well.
Yeah.
Knowing that the building boom means that you can earn from this. And that's why we have in the 2 week, and we found that if you are working, it's a challenge, because then the aspect of doing the 2 weeks job attachment could be a challenge for you. But those were the target areas: the underemployed, the unemployed, and those as Mr. Eastmond had said, remember when the ash workers were about to be laid off. So again, wonderful target group to retrain them so they don't remain unemployed when they finish that stint as ash workers. So those were the, and now it is a different target group in terms of the school leavers that are finishing now. So why not get in their ear? So that's why we have changed from cycle 1 to cycle 2, getting into the school leavers as we get them a trade.
So then what I would as a follow-up question or request, if some information could be sent to me that I could pass on to my guidance counselor, because I know this is the time of the year when she tries her best to, you know, get help for those persons who are leaving school basically empty-handed. So if I could get some information, I would really appreciate it, and I will pass on to her immediately.
Right.
Mr. Downs?
Yeah.
We here at BVTB, I'm not sure about the others, but I think we have what is called a POGC, a Placement Officer Guidance Counselor. And one of their roles is to get out, do the networking with the schools. They go and they do the workshops, and tell the schools about what we are offering. So I believe that the SJPI, BCC probably does a similar thing, but that information can be gotten to you. But I can tell that we are doing it in terms of the workshops and the different displays that we have with the different schools and agencies, getting the message out there. Mr. Drakes may have not remembered, but we also have a marketing committee whose role and job is to tell the public all about the construction gateway. So yes, that information we are putting it out there, but we will get that information to your school. And isn't it a good idea? We can actually send it out to all the schools.
Yeah.
So we can actually write to all the schools, telling them what we are doing, the age that you start, the type of courses that are offered, so that they can guide their students. And you touched on an interesting situation when you started that ties into something that Mr. Eastmond said. And this perception that when you're doing a trade, that only academics or non-academics do trades. But the reality is, if you are not able to read a tape, you can't build anything correct. If you don't know what is an eighth or 3/16, you will never be able to build anything correct. You can only build the exact measurements. And that don't always work. So you have to understand the intricacies of a measuring tape.
Oh, yes.
And in order to do that, you got to be some sort of academic. Got to know some maths and understand some maths.
Oh,
I
yes.
think that I know that information is up on the TVET Council website, and I think it is going up on the other 3 institutions' website very soon. Yeah.
Yes.
So if I may add 2 cents to what Mr. Downs is saying, I think that's fantastic if you guys can get the information out to the guidance counselors. But if at all you have the facility, I would say that at the start of the next academic school year, probably if you can send Gerard, I don't know if it will be through you or through one of the other institutions, an individual probably to attend a PTA meeting here and there at the secondary schools, just to make them aware, as in speak to the parents direct, to make them aware of this initiative as well, and that it has now come to the level that persons who, as Mr. Downs are saying, might leave school without qualifications at present can have an opportunity or know what opportunities there are to be had. Because some parents can be a bit, I don't want to say desperate, but in terms of wanting to find an avenue for their wards to go toward, it's good that they are aware of all the options that may be available to them in the future. Mr. Downs, you have any follow-ups, or that's it for you for now?
That's it for now. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you
the
for coming,
invitation
sir.
and the opportunity to ask a few questions.
Fantastic. You know, it's interesting thing about teachers, they never seem to age, you know. Mr. Downs look that same way when it was at, you know.
That is true.
Obviously, the harder young people like me is keep them from aging. So thank you so much, sir. So I do have
Thank you too,
a
sir.
couple questions in the chat, which I will put to the panel here now. So the first question is, let me just scroll up here. How do you see the passage of Hurricane Beryl increasing the need of skilled construction gateway throughout the region? Anybody want to take a stab at that? Mr. Brett smirking.
Well, the first thing that we have to work towards is a building standard, an established building standard. And I looking at the way how we attach roofs to houses, because had Beryl passed this way, I am not sure if many of our our roofs especially. So getting an established building standard and then showing our technicians how you basically, especially when you're talking about hip roofs, how you install them, how you tie them down, and how you keep them from withstanding a category 2 or 3 hurricane, as opposed to what I see sometimes.
Right.
I want to inform this meeting that SEDEMA, Caribbean
Disaster emergency.
yes, they have developed a building standard for hurricanes, etc. And it has been infused. There was a project with the Canada, the Caribbean Association of National Training Authorities, like the TVET Council is a National Training Authority, they are just a name. And that we worked across the region to infuse that standard in the level 3 construction, building construction standard. And there's funding for it. And I think the SJPI is the agency, training institution, getting ready now to deliver the first program here in Barbados, but it's being delivered in several of the islands across the Caribbean. We at the TVET Council, we are working with the training institution here in Barbados, which is SJPI, as well as the one in British Virgin Islands. So there is a building standard for hurricanes and earthquakes, and that has been infused in the level 3 CVQ building construction standard. So that course is the course for the level 3 building construction standard. That is the course that contains the standard. So you can encourage people to do that. They'll be building to hurricane standard.
Mr. Eastman, I'm going to pick you up on that in a minute, but I want to give Mr. Drakes an opportunity to respond.
Right. I wanted Mr. Chair, Mr. Jones, to modify what was presented by Gerard and Mr. Eastman. And I hear and I understand the what we're going to as laymen and as concerned citizens. I believe to answer that question as well, what needs to be done is the administration needs to proclaim the building standards that have been in draft for so long. Because if we don't make law, the lawless will always take over.
Right.
And I believe we can have all the passion and all whatever, and people would always have the career and I get and do it in my backyard how I feel like, because there's what I can afford. It needs to have a bigger weight of legislation. It has been drafted for so long. To answer the person, it needs to be proclaimed in law.
If this was church, Mr. Drakes, I would be saying hallelujah. Can I get a witness?
No, I'm serious though. I don't know how many years the BNSI and the stand we kick the can down the road, as my chair would say all the time. And I'm not in the business of can kicking.
But Mr. Drakes, as the first vice president of the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers, we have been in one of the bodies in Barbados that have been asking, pushing. There's really not much more we can do legally for the standard to be proclaimed. I think with the Building and Development Act that was coming, there were elements within there that would have brought to bear certain basic requirements for construction practices in Barbados. However, even that was not proclaimed in its entirety. So you will have the fullest support of the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers in sounding that. And I want to follow on something that Gerard said to really explain to persons how important that is. When persons hear about a building standard, the first thing that comes to their mind, oh, the cost of construction is going to go up. Or it can cost more money. Or if I go down the road, I can get my cousin third removed from my aunt, uncle, child. They come and do this job for me for net skin to nothing. But if you introduce a standard, no, I gotta pay it through my whatever, etc., etc., etc. Do not think for one moment that if 2 weeks ago Hurricane Beryl had impacted Barbados as a Category 4 hurricane, that the level of devastation would have been beyond anything that the current flock of Barbadians could imagine or comprehend. Our housing stock, in terms of some of the standards that have been used in the past and some of the standards that are non-standards that are being used right now, is woeful.
Yeah.
We would have had, and this is me just attaching a figure without any firm data, but very easily, about 70% of our roofs might have disappeared during a Category 4 impact in Barbados. We saw what the storm surge did, and other engineers would have indicated that our coastal facilities have traditionally been designed for a Category 3 impact. We are now in a situation where nature has taken us beyond that Category 3 design for anything that we have done on the coastal side. So that means our coast is now a lot more vulnerable than it would have been in the past. And certainly our housing stock is extremely vulnerable in that regard. And persons may be saying, well, how does this all tie in? It all ties in because you need standards to be able to ensure that if we do get impacted by a system of that magnitude, that the devastation is reduced. You will not stop the devastation, but you will reduce the amount of devastation. And it's not easy for a 166 square mile island to pick up itself after a major impact like that. It costs a lot and it takes a long time. And for some people, it will shatter them for the life. They wouldn't be able to recover. So we need to understand the implementation of standards is helping ourselves. Number two, trained professionals, trained, skilled tradesmen is needed. For too long, we've gotten by with just getting by. We now need to probably take, well, not probably, we need to take a more controlled approach going forward. I'm not saying this is something that's going to happen overnight, but if we start to work at it now, it is certainly something that we can work toward for the future. If you look to the United Kingdom, I studied and did some work in the United Kingdom. You have to have a card through the Construction Industry Training Board to be able to play your trade in construction, whether you are a joiner, a carpenter, somebody's go out there and build boxing, or whether you are a project manager. There are different categories of certification. And basically that Construction Industry Training Board is the entity that will certify you that when you go to any construction company or any project ongoing in the UK, and you present that card, they know that you have a certain level of skill and that you are employable. And that's where we need to get to. And it's not about wanting to shut out people, because through NVQs and CVQs, we've seen that there's a possibility where persons that have been involved in trades for their lifetime that might not have had a formal education can still receive certification. So however which way we need to attack it, these are the things we need to do. Because as a professional, I grow weary when I hear this contractor came and did bad work at my house, and now I need to get it rectified, but I don't have the money to do it, right? Gerard will tell you from another perspective that, we have members that will come and take out a mortgage. These are people sometimes are not, they can't go to the conventional commercial bank to take out a mortgage, so they come to the credit union to take out a mortgage. And sometimes you get a tradesman and these people pretty much do as they please. And then some of our members end up having a half-built home that they can't move in, or, it develops issues down the road. So we need to nip those things in the bud by having persons have some form of recognized training, so that when a person presents themselves to you, the general public, as a contractor, that there's a certain requirement, a certain registration, a certain something to say, yes, somebody has certified me as a contractor, and yes, I could come and build your house, and yes, if something go wrong, this is the route that you have to pursue some sort of, if you have to litigation or whatever the case may be. And that's where we need to move to, because if we don't stop poo-pooing the building standard and putting it in place, and we do get impact, remember, this is early days yet. If we do get impact by a Category 2, not even Category 4, there's going to be severe devastation in this place. And that is from an engineering point of view. And I'm not saying that to scare people or to be alarmist. I'm saying it because it is true. We had a little blow up here when we had the asphalt and everything else, so some lightning and everything. And, it was a big challenge. That barely made Category 1. So imagine if we have something of that impact, where it would put us. Let me get off my soapbox. So I have a question here from Felicia, and she's asking, and this is to you, the panel. What role do you envision the engineering fraternity playing in the initiative beyond facilitating job placement?
I could probably start this one. One of the areas I think would be providing feedback, like once the trainees are placed in the jobs, getting the feedback in terms of what might be identified as any strengths or deficiencies. That is one area. Then secondly, in terms of recognition of the certification, promoting that. And this would extend not just to the certification at the end of the construction gateway, but MVQs and CVQs, having them recognized as valid certification that is on par with associate degrees, etc. So promoting the certification, maybe assessing, maybe in terms of assessing the curriculum itself, to see if there are any areas that might need to be shored up. So those are three areas, I think, for starters, possibly.
Anybody else?
We can also add, Mr. Jones. Right, I believe we can also add where the engineers can even come in and give some educational conversations to the participants as well. One of the things we have realized is we in Barbados don't market well enough what the occupation you earn. What is the earning? Because you know the guys on the block that's come and show you, boy, this is where you can make when the week come. We need, and you said it, we need to show them, these trainees, why is it worth it to get involved. And so that is a marketing tool that we have a weakness in, to me, that we, and I say we because I'm part of it, have to agitate and educate. As Mr. Dong said, you know, people say technical teacher, but what is the earning? What is the takeaway? Before, after 3 o'clock, there's so much more. So again, I think they can help us in that area as well.
Okay.
I believe they can also help us by building confidence and using some of their success stories to show and talk to the young people. Because I know that everybody that in their place of work may not have started at the top. They'll have to have people who would have started at the bottom and work their way to the top. And if you can use some of those same people to come and talk to the trainees and you know, give them encouragement, build confidence, that would also help.
So I want to extend that invitation to you all here to please reach out to the association and let us know where we can get plugged in, right? Because, you know, on occasion, I have asked various other places, you know, what assistance can we render? Would you like us to send professionals to speak to your students? And I appreciate teachers get busy with curriculum and trying to get things finished and so on. And to have somebody come in probably for half an hour to speak to students might not always be the easiest thing, but I would like to think that perhaps when you get to your end of term, when perhaps you have a bit more time, that this is the stage at which you can plug professionals or tradesmen, skilled tradesmen in that can actually come into the space and say, well, guys, I was where you were, this is what I did, this is what is possible. And like you said, if you can sometimes shining a light at the end of the tunnel for some individuals gives them hope and aspiration to strive to go forward. So I by all means reach out to us. Mr. Drates, you know how to get hold of me anytime. Miss Alleyne, I was on one of your BCC's committees, and I would tell you it hasn't been convened for about the last 3 or 4 years. So I really can't give no feedback. But from the professional side, I would say it would be good, as is being asked, to be able to offer that feedback from whether you're a project manager, engineer, seeing what is happening out there, to offer that feedback to you who are on the education side, to also help to cater the subject matter to be useful so that they hit the ground running. So I think there is a need to have that exchange, whether it's with the engineers, the architects, the other professionals within the construction sector, quantity surveyors, the mechanical, electrical engineers. So reach out and let us see what synergies we can create in that regard, please. Now, it says people just get frightened about asking questions. I got caught on some people. So Ian Ramsey, can you make yourself known? You're there, so you can hear me? Mr. Ramsey, are you hearing me? Mr. Ramsey? All right, maybe he stepped away. Malik Daniel, are you hearing me, sir?
Brother Jones, you have a gentleman here that I sure wouldn't mind sharing. John
Fantastic.
Sargent.
Mr. Sargent?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, sorry. All right. So Malik, we're gonna talk to you a little bit and then we talk to Mr. Sargent. So Malik, I know that you're in the engineering field and obviously you have worked in construction some time. Do you want to offer any feedback, give some comments as to what you've heard tonight, probably some recommendations? What are your thoughts on what you've heard tonight, sir?
Well, first of all, I would like to congratulate everyone who actually put this together, and it's something that is really needed. I just wanted to pretty much echo what Mr. Downs had said, where the institutions can actually reach out. When I say institution, I mean the tertiary institutions, where they can actually reach out to those secondary students. Because I think it is very vital that they reach out to those young ones, because as you are saying, you have to start somewhere. I think there's someone said that you have to start at the bottom before you reach to the top. So if we can really target those kids that are now leaving school, and get them plugged into those different areas of construction, and as they learn, they move on to different modules, module 1, module 2, module 3, and so on. And with that is a way that they can actually start their own businesses. And when you really look at it, especially those self-employed person in the construction industry, most of them pretty much start maybe just as an apprentice, learning from a person or maybe within a company, and they gain the knowledge. Sometimes they also move on to different learning institutions to gain a little more knowledge, or to gain the technical aspect of whatever trade they apply in their daily life, that they have something that they can say that they are certified. And I think with that, it can actually go a very, very long way. I also do teach a course too, and where we actually have persons that comes out of urban development that are small contractors, small builders and stuff. And, we provide, or we render that service to them too, so they can get a little more insight in construction, or why certain practices are done within a particular way. So from saying that, I really think it is important that we really target those young boys and even girls too, because we have a lot of females too that are, involved in construction in terms of like tiling, bedding, and so forth. And we really, really need to do that. And it was someone on the panel that said, that the construction industry is booming. And when you really look at it, overall, the construction industry is, I would say, $1 billion industry. There is money to be made in construction, in all genres of construction. So I strongly stand behind it. We really need to get out there and reach those young ones. We don't really want these kids falling the wrong path. So if we can really reach those kids. And I mean, yes, some adults too as well, but my emphasis is for those young kids. Get them started, get them plugged in, get them, all interested in the construction field. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Malik. Really appreciate that. Mr. Sargent, would you like to come in at this stage?
Good night, everyone.
night.
Mr. Prescod, nice seeing you again and hearing you. I know you have been very supportive of me when I was at the training board as an electrical demonstrator. Nice to see you again,
Yes,
and
sir.
to hear you as well. Mr. Eastmond, of course, can't forget you. As an assessor, I answer directly to you. So good night to everyone. I am very glad to hear, because I've only learned of the construction gateway relatively recently, and I'm a temporary teacher at St. George Secondary teaching electrical installation, and I was not aware of it till very late. One of my students, we do level 1 CVQ. I was able to do the first cluster at the school, but because of the hurricane that had passed, we couldn't do the other 2 clusters so they can have the full certification for level 1 CVQ. But I was not aware of Construction Gateway till relatively recently. Otherwise, I would have been able to introduce those students to the program. So I'm very glad that I'm hearing now, Mr. Prescod, as you said, there's going to be an outreach to the schools. And I know that the principal at St. George Secondary, I know he'll be delighted to hear of this program because he's seeking to rebrand the school and he's looking at those requisite skills that would definitely enhance the construction industry. And as a partner, schools can partner with the construction industry in a very positive way. So I'm very glad to hear about that. What I would like to hear, though, is of those tradesmen who have been working for some time, because I have had to write letters for a lot of electricians who want the license. They've been working out there, and I'm sure that many of you would have known of some electricians. They don't have a license, but they are very good at what they do. Some of them have worked with firms. They are not that predisposed to the academic side of things, but they can size cables, they can do the wiring, the connections, they can bend convict, they can do the entire job. But usually when they have to go to get an inspection, have to come to licensed electricians like myself and ask us if you could sign the form, because I know, of course, you all would know, if you don't have a license, you cannot submit to a government electrical inspection department for inspection. You must have a license. So what I have done, and I have the program, Mr. Eastmond, you could probably say a bit on this, on the PLAR program, prior learning, assessment, recognition. I've had students who I have actually worked with 4 students so far, and had to get their certification, because this program, and Mr. Eastman, you're better equipped for this, that you could, and I don't know how this is weaved into the Construction Gateway program, but there are actually electricians out there, and I'm sure that there are other skills, construction skills, who they don't have the sitting gills, they don't have CVQ level 4, but they can work. And the PLAR program is an extremely good program. And as I said, I worked with 4 of the students so far, candidates rather, so far. And I would like to know how the PLAR program can be partnering, or can be part of the certification process for the Gateway program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sargent, for your question and for your experience. Would any of you gentlemen like to respond, please? And lady,
Well,
apologies,
the
Ms. Annette.
PLAR program is already out here. It used to be done a lot at BVTB, but there's a gentleman named Mr. Howell who is doing it outside. The TVET Council we were doing it mostly for training and assessment, training and development. We are coming back, and if you go to our website, we are getting back into the PLAR because this is in demand. And you can get people who do not have certification that are working in the field come and get. You might not get the full certification, but you might get unit certification, either full certification or come and get assessed. So if you go to our website, you can see that how you can apply, etc. But in this Gateway program, we recognize the type of people that you are talking about, not the people with the full license, but there's something called an electrical assistant who can do all of that stuff, but they don't have a license. And I see there are, at BVTV now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 classes in this cohort.
Yes.
An electrical assistant is
Yes.
a very popular program.
Yes.
So they can be certified as electrical assistants, and they'll be able to do all those things the gentleman was talking about, even though they have a license, right? So we recognize that there are cadre of people out there who do that. And so they can come and get certified as an electrical assistant, and we move forward. Yeah.
Fantastic. Jared or Miss Alleyne or Mr. Drates, anything to add to what Mr. Eastman would have just said? No?
No, just,
no.
right. We all are on board with that PLAR, definitely.
Fantastic. Okay, a question in the chat, and then Ian, I see that you indicated that you can interact, so I'll come to you after this question. This one is from Alexander Enmore, and he says, I graduated secondary school in the class of 2023, and I'm moving on to my second year at the SJPA. Most people look down on me when I chose to do CVQ and VQs. I see this type of education as an addition to my other subjects. It gives a new dynamic to the industry. As a young student, I have gained experience I am proud of. Sorry, as a young student, I've gained experience I'm proud of. Could we possibly give more information, as you guys said, as to what these CVQ and NVQs mean, levels 1 through 5, in the context for young students and those who are already working in the industry? Mr. Robin Downs said something about repurpose. Could this program spark an interest in professionals? I think this is called a top-up program. So, Mr. Drakes, this is something that you want to speak to, given that this is one of your students asking a question, and then the other.
Yes, and I was going to pass it on to Mr. Eastman, but as Mr. Eastman said, this program, and I think what the young man is saying, we need to do some more marketing for the CVQs and VQs. Again, we are the situation, we are at the crossroad of proclamation. We want the National Qualification Framework to become law. It will give us this young man the clout that he's asking about. If we can get these things to stop being on somebody's colored paper, white, green, you know, you say with white, green, pink paper. And that's the way it has been for the last 5 years, Mr. Eastman. Yeah. We have been pushing for the National Qualification Framework out of the Barbados Accreditation Council, that we can go out there and say from level 1 to 5 what it means, where it stands against any academic from any university or any technical institution. And we support this young man in terms of, yes, people looking down because they don't understand. One of the biggest things about the CVQ is that you don't need a license to go anywhere to function in the CARICOM region where you sign off on. You can get work before having to look for a work permit. So if we can market this, we are saying this is what the not move from recognition to rating. That carries that kind of load right up to a PhD. And that's what it means.
Yeah, right.
Go up to a PhD 1 to 5. We cannot get it to become law, so we can tell the employers this is what that person is coming to you with in terms of competencies. Mr. Eastman, you can add.
I think you explained it very well. The qualification framework would be able allow you to equate a technical qualification alongside an academic qualification. Now, we used to have 5 levels. That has been refined now, and we got 8 levels, where level 5 is equivalent to a degree, right? So, because I think the level 4 and 5 were wide, so we shortened that. So our CVQ qualifications can go right up to master's and doctoral level as you build the qualification, but that qualification framework will be able to put the qualification in the appropriate level, and you're able to compare them with the academic qualifications, and that is about to go to cabinet, I understand.
What is so interesting is that even though the CVQ and VQ framework is, I don't want to say new because it's been around now for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Even before that framework, when City and Guilds was the thing to do,
mm-hmm.
there was that opportunity that you could do City and Guilds and become a technician, go on then to become a technologist, and then go on to the degree level. And I think those of us who maybe a little older would remember or are aware that several of the polytechnics in the United Kingdom went on to be granted university status, to be able to offer the range of subjects that were required in the United Kingdom at that point in time. And we're talking about a lot of technical institutes, basically, that were graduated to a higher level basically to expand the level of certification that they were able to offer. And again, it goes back to old thinking and really rationalizing our system so that it benefits everyone and not just the chosen few. All right. I want to, Ian, are you in a position that you can engage me right now? Mr. Ramsey?
Hi, good evening. Good evening, gents and
Hi,
lady.
good evening.
Good evening, Vincent.
Mr. Ramsey happens to be a fellow classmate, and Mr. Robin Downs actually taught both of us. And Ian is actually a trained, registered, and qualified architect. Ian, from your perspective, we've gotten a perspective from a civil engineer through Mr. Malik Daniel earlier. You are an architect and you work at an interesting place because you guys do a lot of your own design and build at the crane. Can you offer a point of view, firstly, on the benefits that you see from an employer's point of view for this program, and then expand on that as professionally where you see those benefits or helping the construction industry, please?
Oh, well, I would say for sure, we're always in need of trained, qualified, and skilled professionals in any area, whether it be electrical, carpentry, masonry, joinery, you name it. We need those skilled professionals to be able to translate information delivered to them into a built product. So that's always going to be a need across the board, especially when you come to have those conversations on information delivered and being able to translate it into what we need, which is the product. But I do have a question for the panel, and I wanted to know where do you guys see, or have you guys been privy to the future of the Gateway program? Because I know it's now seen as an introductory program, but I want to know, like, in the future, do you see it as being a program that has various levels where professionals can come back, be retrained on different levels, and then gain like grade A status or grade B, or, you know, where you see the future of Gateway going in terms of where it is now and where it would go in the future?
Yeah, you take that because
Well, where we see it is, and we have designed the program in a way that deliberately it is presenting with certain levels for certification. And I love Mr. Eastmond's term he loved to use, stackable credentials. And we see it as that we can come back with a proposal to the administration to say, hey, those who have completed this program, one, we can continue with a gateway, or because of how we have, with the technical experts, put together this program, they can now come into any of the 3 technical institutions and continue to acquire their certificate, because most of these courses we have constructed and designed with credit hours, deliberately, so that what you've done is not just introductory, but it has the making to be stackable, to continue to acquire certificate, a diploma. And so it is past what we in the old time days used to call a participation certificate. And that's how we have constructed this and these courses that we have rolled out in the construction gateway, if that can help you, so that persons can come back. I just spoke about retooling and want to change jobs, and they can continue in our evening divisions. Some of us evening divisions, we have training, skills training, and continue with the gateway. You're not going to be starting from ground zero anymore. So that the school leaver understands you no longer are inexperienced, for lack of a better term, but you have something that you're bringing to the table when you want to reapply to any of these 3 institutions. And that's how we have constructed and designed these courses.
I guess, Mr. Drakes, what Ian also is touching on is something that you and I have discussed in the past, where we need to look at having those opportunities for the person to come back now, and as Ian said, or as the student said earlier, to do a top up or to enrich their skill set, then to become what you will call overseas a master builder of sorts.
Yes.
Right. So you may have a gentleman who has been a mason for all his life, but he's not done a lot in terms of coral work, coral block work, and then he's able to come back and do a course on a weekend or something like that, which tops up his already, high skill set, but gives him another arrow in his quiver, as it were, to be able to go out there and pursue other aspects of work. Because there are, and if we touch on heritage here a bit, there are aspects of our heritage which require specialist approach to the way work is done. And we have lost a significant amount of persons who are skilled in those specific trades and skill set, to the point where on some projects now they have to actually bring people from outside.
Yes.
Once upon a time, a stonemason in Barbados was one of the most skilled tradesmen around. A person who could take a piece of limestone and fashion it into a block, into a carving, into all sorts of things, and literally build half of the buildings that we know in Barbados. We've lost a lot of that skills. I mean, even to the basic point of being able to mix lime mortar properly, we have a whole cadre of persons who have been trained who have not acquired that skill set to go out there and mix lime mortar properly and understand what that entails. When you go to restore a house which was built in the 1700s, you really should be using lime mortar and not Portland cement mortar, because of the attributes of the building material and what the lime mortar offers over Portland cement. But these are basic things that we need to really drill down and as Ian is saying, afford our skilled tradesmen an opportunity to come and do a top up in the future. So there is room there for improvement. And I know, Mr. Drakes, these are things that you and your colleagues here obviously would be able to go back now to the various government entities and say, well, look at our numbers, look at our success rate, and look to where we can move this to. I honestly look forward to the day, and this is the time of year to mention it. I honestly look forward to the day that when I open my paper to see which students will be getting scholarships because they did well in A levels, I will also see the Barbados awarded government scholarships for those persons who will be pursuing academic training in the technical areas. So, the student who has done extremely well in their CVQ, NVQ, that is being nationally recognized and celebrated in the same vein, and perhaps being given an opportunity to go outside of Barbados to a technical institute elsewhere and go to another level. I generally look forward to that day. And we really need to pull down that old thinking and get to that level, because everybody needs that. We need to create that level playing field where everybody has an opportunity to be celebrated for what they're good at. And the longer we take to do that, all of this shooting and killing will continue.
Mr. Jones, the proposal has been at the Ministry of put to the Ministry of Education.
I have no doubt, sir, and I say that tongue in cheek because I know. But I'm just saying it publicly that things need to change, and if the longer we take to change, we will continue to want to know why the young people killing one another, because they don't have anything to aspire toward. And it is as simple as that. Any other questions, please? Because we're coming into the end of tonight's session. Let me see. I think there might have been another question in the chat. Let me just check here. Jaden Ward has asked, has anyone gone overseas as part of the training to do work?
Outside of the individual that I would have spoken about in terms of seeking to get the job in Canada, I from BVTB's end, I can't say of anybody else.
Mr. Drake, you want to speak of some of your students?
I want to have a comment on that though. I want to say to persons, our drive and our passion is to drive persons to do work locally. We are not promoting because you would be shooting yourself in the foot if we're going to be bringing in persons that send out our Barbados dollar and training persons and sending them out. We are not that passionate about that. This is home drum, sir, and we want to beat on it hard at home. You have said it. I have seen it. There's a shortage. So we are not encouraging. We are going to encourage you to see how much Barbados dollars you can make when you get this trade.
Okay. Mr. Eastman, you want to add anything or?
Yes, I want to agree that this is the construction gateway is designed to meet the demands of the local market.
Okay. So Jaden, I hope that answers your question. So I want to offer you panelists some closing comments before we wrap up tonight's session. So I'm going to start because I was raised by my grandmother. I'm going to start with the lady on the panel. So Miss Alleyne.
The Construction Gateway Training Initiative is an excellent opportunity for Barbadians. Mr. Eastman and Drake's just mentioned that the focus is on training Barbadians. This is an opportunity for them to reskill, to find a skill where they can gain some kind of economic benefits. What we know is that people who have multiple skills are the ones who are more likely to be agile and flexible when it comes to the job market. And whether academic, I know that in this discussion, there was like a lot of talk, academic and technical, but very often I see it as one and the same. People, you don't have to put the demarcation. We know that they're technical programs, academic programs, yes, but they're for everybody. So somebody who might be academic can very well learn a technical skill. So this program is open to everybody. Academics, technical people, all are welcome. Come and get the opportunity to train. And right now we realize that not a lot of females are taking up the offers compared to males. About 1/3 of the graduates from BCC were females compared to the males. So I'm encouraging women, girls to apply as well. It's a great opportunity. You get a stipend, we collaborate. At the end, you get certified, you get a job attachment. So cohort cycle 2 has started with cohort 5. We began on July the 4th. Don't miss out on this opportunity for training. Yeah.
Fantastic, Miss Alleyne. And some of the first females I saw in trade were actually electricians on a project I worked on many years ago, and then steel benders. So you are correct. Mr. Prescod, closing comments from you, sir.
Yes, sir. We at BVTB are happy to be taking part in Construction Gateway. For this cohort, we have at present about 300 persons in training, 22 classes, 6 locations, and 13 trade areas. That number should rise once we get back our heavy equipment, because none of our driving courses are running now because our equipment is down. But once we get that back, that number should rise. And we will continue trying to do our best in taking at-risk and troubled and those students who are not as academically inclined off the streets and learn them a trade, and then trying to help them become better citizens in this country.
Thank you, Gerard. Mr. Eastman?
I wish to say that this is an excellent opportunity to a homegrown program to suit the demands of the local market. It is for all ages. We noticed that in Cycle 1, people that have jobs already came in and trained and retrained. And it is a starting point in the construction industry, because once you are certified, you can come back and top up and move forward. So we will hope that bit does some marketing for us, spread the word, right? And if possible, you can give a donation towards the equipment, we would welcome that.
Sir, I would personally do my best to spread the word. Hence why we're having this forum tonight. That's part of us helping to spread the word. And, you know, I'm always keen to engage in terms of the association, to engage with you on the when I say academic, I mean the school side, to see how best we can build those relationships and those synergies to each other's benefit. So most definitely, wherever we can help, we will try to do so. All right, Mr. Drakes, you get to bowl the deaf over.
Thank you, sir. And on behalf of Team BCGTI, I want to thank the BAPE for facilitating us on this occasion and helping us to market this product, the construction gateway, to our people. The COVID-19, we had a decimation, especially of females in industry. And there's some still up there. I want to appeal to them to come on board. There's something for the females, there's something for the males, as I said. And we, as I always say, it's exciting. And therefore, as my colleague said, come and get a trade. Those young persons who may be underemployed, unemployed, just finished school, not sure, are in transition, this is your opportunity. The state will give you something to get the classes. Do not forget that once you're unemployed. And I want to thank also Corporate Barbados for the Cycle 1 and the support we have gotten and the anticipated support we expect in the future. And we look forward to really being able to answer the call for that boom of building that is happening in this country with our local cohorts as we open our pages and seeing them putting their hands to the plow, our national citizens, to build this country as our national anthem says to us from day to day.
Thank you,
We
Mr.
thank you.
Hicks. Just a reminder from Mr. Downs, please don't forget to send the information to the guidance counselors. So
I've made a note. I've made a note.
thank you very much, guys. So this brings to end tonight's session. This session is being recorded and will be on the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers website within a couple of days. And I will also share that recording with you, Mr. Drake, so you can distribute to the other members of the panel. Please feel free to utilize the content to aid in whatever way that you guys seem fit in terms of marketing, getting the message out there, sharing with other colleagues. This is not meant to be information, but this, you know, tonight is it and it disappears. It's going to be there. Please use it. There's enough information shared here tonight that I would like and hope that some content can go out. And we are most definitely interested and keen, Ms. Alleyne, are working with you guys to help to develop content as well for the industry going forward. So we look forward to working with each and every one of you in the near future. All right, so we look forward to next month's webinar. We will send that information out as we usually do and let you know what it is. In terms of the association, we are working on a couple tours that are upcoming. Once we have that finalized, we'll also put that information out there to you. So I want to thank our panelists, Mr. Ian Drakes, Mr. Henderson, Eastmond. Is it Dr. Annette Alleyne?
Just Miss Alleyne, Annette Alleyne. Yes.
Ms. Alleyne and Mr. Gerard Prescod, I want to thank you all for taking the time tonight because it's after working hours. And I know some people once 4:30 gone, they don't want to see nothing to do with work till the next day. But for really showing how vested you are in this process and by your enthusiasm, because, you know, sometimes people come and present and they may be less than enthusiastic, but I can see the enthusiasm in each and every person here. And that means that you're really vested in what you are doing as it pertains to this program. So I want to wish you well. I want to wish your program greater success in the future. And I think it really does set a template for things to come in the future, for greater and better things to come. And that can be beneficial to the construction industry in Barbados. So thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
I bid you a good night.
Good
Thank
night
you.
to you as well and all.
Okay,
Good
good
night,
night.
everyone.
Bye.
All right,
Okay.
take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right.